Here in this parish, it's been just a fabulous attitude between the Negro and the white man, where we've lived together for years and years, and we have given them just about everything that we can financially and physically give them. And we have had respect one for the other, and I hope to God that nothing happens or develops that would change this basic respect, because I think eventually it can't help but produce a better city to live in.
Do you think that colored people should register and vote?
No, sir.
You don't? Why not?
Well, in the olden days, they didn't do it.
Do you think this is going to lead to trouble?
I ain't going to answer that.
Okay.
It's about 17 miles from Baton Rouge to Plaquemine, Louisiana, across the Mississippi River to the West Bank, and then down past cane fields and the West Baton Rouge Courthouse to the town of Plaquemine. This is not the county or parish of Plaquemine, but the town of Plaquemine in Iberville Parish. A quiet town of about 10,000 people. A town chosen by the Congress of Racial Equality as headquarters for an interracial group spending the summer working on Negro voter registration.
Since 1958, there had been a substantial reduction in the number of Negroes registered due to a purge of the voter registration rolls. And in one parish, West Feliciana, which is 68% Negro, not one Negro was registered to vote.
The days are hot in Louisiana in July, but at an evening rally at the Plymouth Rock Baptist Church, it was even hotter.
National Educational Television presents Louisiana Diary, a film record of impressions and events encountered during a voter registration drive conducted in the 6th Congressional District in the state of Louisiana by the Congress of Racial Equality. Corps' Task Force South, July 14th to August 25th, 1963.
The Corps members at the rally were welcomed by a local school principal, Mr. W.W. Harlow.
We have been wishing and hoping and praying for a long, long time to have somebody who think like you and your group to come to join us and help us. I know Gordon doesn't think so much of this idea of helping us, but we like it. We've been hoping and praying for something like this to happen ever since back there when we had to register as Republican when there was no Republican primary for us to vote in. We have been hoping and praying that somebody would come along with your way of thinking and your way of acting, so that we could get this thing over and make democracy live.
Corps' National Program Director, Gordon Carey, responded to the welcome.
We've really been welcomed, I think, into this town. Frankly, when Mr. Ronnie Moore first started making arrangements for our little group to come down here, and he suggested that we have our interracial workshop in a little town called Plaquemine, which I'd never heard of before, I thought this was probably the last place in the world where we could find housing and accommodations for an interracial group. Not only are we here to work on voter registration, but by the time this drive is finished, Corps is going to continue working as we have in New Orleans and Baton Rouge. We're going to work to break down all forms of discrimination and segregation.
They had come, the more than 40 volunteers, from all parts of the United States, from California and New England, from the South and the North. Given the fact that this was an interracial group, no one ever knew exactly how many Louisiana laws against mixing might be violated. The task force included several school teachers, a union organizer, many graduate students, some undergraduates, and even a poet. The plan of action called for a 10-day training period in Plaquemine, after which the group would be divided into teams to carry on voter registration work in 8 Louisiana parishes. One way to find out about a town and a parish is simply to drive through it and, if possible, talk with people.
It's a wonderful town to live in. The people who are here are extremely friendly. It's billed as the city of hospitality. It was incorporated in 125 years ago. We have a tremendous history and a lot of color and a lot of political color to the city as such. And of course, it's the seat of the entire parish. In Longfellow's Evangeline, Gabriel was supposed to have traveled this bayou to seek his lover in St. Martinsville, Louisiana.
The picket line served a twofold function. One, it gets at the question of employment of Negroes in Plaquemine. And two, it was sort of a buffer for us to get some action going into the community. It made the community aware in the sense that something was taking place.
Do you think that colored people should register and vote?
No, sir.
You don't? Why not?
Well, in the olden days, they didn't do it.
Do you think this is going to lead to trouble?
I ain't going to answer that.
Okay.
Well, just beans mostly. Not much else. You cook but beans. Don't get but a little money. And you have to pay your high house rent, and your electric is high here, and your gas, and your water, and you pay for your garbage. And after that, you don't have much left.
So mostly it's beans.
That's about it. Sometimes if you don't mind out, you won't have them.
What kind of work do people do
around here?
Not anything, hardly much of nothing. Nothing to do. Nothing.
No employment.
No industries at all. Nothing. Just about 60 or 70 days a year, and then that shuts down and it's through. And 1 or 2 minutes work, the rest starve.
Here in this parish, it's been just a fabulous attitude between the Negro and the white man, where we've lived together for years and years, and we have given them just about everything that we can financially and physically give them. And we've had respect one for the other, and I hope to God that nothing happens or develops that would change this basic respect, because I think eventually it can't help but produce a better city to live in.
Externally, Plaquemine was a quiet town situated on the Mississippi River. Internally, there was a tremendous amount of unrest amongst Negro leaders in the community, principally because we were concerned that at this late date in an election year, we did not have our voter registration rolls up to the point that we would like to have had them. But as far as the external appearance of the city, it was a very quiet town.
The training sessions in how to register voters were conducted by Ronnie Moore, the Corps Field Secretary for Louisiana.
Who else? The registrar, deputy registrar, shall interview and give applications to only one applicant at a time. In other words, you can have 150 people outside the registrar's office. According to state law, the registrar can take in one person at a time. If you take people to the registrar's office, you will not be permitted inside. While you're outside, you can be arrested for disorderly conduct and disturbing the peace, vagrancy. Then you read and write a portion of the preamble to the United States Constitution from dictation by the registrar. The registrar will read to you, "We the people of the United States," if you're white. If you're a Negro, she'll read to you, "Ensure domestic tranquility."
When task force members tried their hand at the test, they didn't do too well, particularly under the badgering of Ronnie Moore playing the part of a registrar.
I'm sorry, but you did.
But you were talking. I couldn't fill them out.
I'm sorry, John. Look, lady, wait. You gotta get out of here. In order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility.
But there was no let-up in the training, since these people were to set up voter registration classes, or clinics, as they were called. Jim McCain, National Director of Chapters for CORE, lectured the group on behavior in rural southern communities.
But I think it's very important, because I think this project hinges entirely upon how well we get along with people in the community in which we are working.
How old are you? Can you tell me?
And Gordon Carey interviewed local recruits for the task force.
How old? 19. 19. And are you all living with your parents? With those who are under 21, I think we have to have a written permission from your parents. This would be one thing you should take into consideration. I think that, you know, if you go on something like this, you're sort of going to have to, you know, be nonviolent all the time, really, because you see what happens in a situation like this is that the safety of all the rest of the members, you know, rests and depends upon you and you know, each one of you.
Late into the night, there were discussions about the philosophy of nonviolence.
The very act of your not returning a blow and submitting to the blow is in itself part of a creative process. The idea of nonviolence is as a creative process to change attitudes.
And there was one other kind of training offered, training in self-protection.
Now this is a protection against water holes. We found that if we are attacked by water holes, we can form a circle, no matter how large the circle is, lock arms around the waist, and bow your head to the center.
And there was training in nonviolent direct action.
Like 2 tickets, balcony.
Sorry, I can't serve your ticket.
you're by yourself, maybe you could get one, but I can't serve you.
Why can't you serve us?
Because out there is not for integrated couples.
Stop there, that line, too. What is it?
The training in nonviolence was, in itself, rather violent.
What's your name? Answer me. What's your name, girl? Speak up. Can't you talk any louder than that? What's your name? What's your address?
1559.
Where are you from?
Blackman.
What are you doing up here? What are you doing up here? Answer me, girl. What are you doing up here? What are you doing up here, girl? Huh? What are you doing up here? You working with cars? How much do you get paid? Answer me. How much do you get paid? Huh? How much do you get paid? How much do you get paid?
And the teams were already moving out from Plaquemine on July 24th. It was travel time, and the few core automobiles were in great demand. And soon, the task force workers encountered their first experiences in real hostility.
White fellow walked up and says, all right, you niggers, you've registered now, but I'll be damned if you vote.
One man said, you look like you're a full-blooded white, that your mother or father must be sick at what you're doing now, betraying the race. One man come up in a very frenzied voice and stated that if his children are compelled to go with Negroes to school, he will murder them. And my being here would be the reason why he would murder his children, therefore I was a murderer. And they would make comments like, there's the nigger lover, and there's the communist, and we should get him out, and so forth.
St. Helena Parish, the county seat, or the parish seat, is at Greensburg.
When time permitted, they were given a formal briefing.
You're going to have to do your best to reach the people. Now, you notice you got 420 square miles and 9,000 people.
Sometimes they went in by day.
You ever been to St. Helena before?
No, I haven't. I don't know anything about it.
All right. How do you feel about the possibility of something happening to you in the line of violence? Are you afraid of...
No, I'm not.
You're not.
And sometimes they went in by night. During this time, Ronnie Moore and 2 task force workers were arrested at the Baton Rouge airport.
In jail.
What happened? Can you tell me?
Well, actually what happened, you see, we went up to pick up Bob at the airport, and we had been served previously in the restaurant in the airport. And as I stopped today and asked for a cup of coffee, the lady said couldn't serve it. And I said, well, we had been served previously here, and she refused to serve us, and I asked to see the manager. At this time, she had called the officers, and we were arrested. I was outside the restroom on the telephone when the officer came up, and he said, did the lady ask you to leave? I said, no, she just refused to serve. He said, well, ask him to leave. She said, leave, and before I could say it, he said, you're under arrest. The bond was $1,500. You had to pay a $150 shirt.
Where's Spivey Gordon and...
Spivey and Ed are on their way. They were bringing this car back from Baton Rouge here. They're pretty good. Ed was arrested on vagrancy, and he had $75 in his pocket. His bond was $500.
Are you going to take the team out to Tangipahoa tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, we're with you.
Okay. If you must go on the plantations, I suggest that you do so. But if you think that there's a possibility of arrest by going on the plantations, then I suggest that you call us first before you go on so that we'll know that we could be around in case things develop. That's provided we're not in jail in West Feliciana. And in case you're arrested out here, Don't give anything other than your name and address and the source of an income, or you're employed by Corps on the summer project, and Corps takes care of your room and board.
Once on the road, it was sometimes necessary to break the tension.
Oh, freedom is what we want. Yeah, 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 freedom is what we want. We used to ride in the back.
And it was always necessary to keep a sharp lookout for the police, inasmuch as an interracial group in a car was always suspect.
We go to jail, hallelujah, without bail. Right now, our chief goal is not to detour from voter registration. And if we got too many people in jail now in Plaquemine on this picket line, or go into other types of other efforts, rather, to desegregate the other facilities, which mean more people go to jail, then you'll find a whole movement in Plaquemine. We're detouring from voter registration into a mass jail-in. And this might bring about some changes in the community. It may not, but definitely will not get anybody registered. Yeah. And so here, once again, you have to decide, what do we want to do? We want to register people, or do we want a mass movement?
This question about the impulse toward mass action, in contrast with the usually quieter and less exciting activity of registering voters, was to prove prophetic as the days went by.
Well, them people is not going to bother you. I'll put my neck, listen, I'll put my neck on the block and let you chop it off.
You can have
them people is to protect you, not to bother you.
In each community, housing had to be found in the homes of local residents, and always there was fear to overcome. It took personal courage to house an interracial group, and in Clinton, Louisiana, one such person was Mrs. Holmes, or Mama Joe.
I personally feel very grateful to is the fact that you so willingly housed us, you know, when other people were afraid to do so.
Thank you.
Why do you feel that it's, you know, it was important for you to feel that way? What do you think about it?
Oh, I just think that we ought to be. The Bible says, together let us live, and divided we will fall.
Mm-hmm.
That's right now, it feels like that.
Yeah. What do you think about the whites, Nate?
So I'm used to white folks. I ain't afraid of them.
You are?
No.
Who aren't you afraid of?
I ain't afraid of nobody.
That includes Mr. Charlie.
Yeah, they can't eat me. What they gonna do if they kill me?
Yeah.
If you kill me, they can't eat me.
Is that right?
I ain't good to eat, you know. Better let me stay there.
In each parish, as the hard work of door-to-door canvassing got underway, the voter education schools or clinics were set up. And at the end of each day, there were the reports and strategy meetings.
We got, maybe like 30 people to come to the clinic in Wilson today. We just opened that clinic today, see. So really, we got all these kinds of problems. And the thing that's really annoying, of course, is to have to use one car that is terribly deficient in terms of no registration. And the police are always following.
We'll get you another car, and we'll get you some more people.
More people?
At least one more, maybe two.
It's easy to house Negroes, I'll tell you that. The point is, if in fact they're Negroes, we can probably find housing for them in these other areas. A certain amount of inconspicuousness might help to house them, say, over in sticks. But right now, we hold up on those two people until we're sure we can get some housing.
We'll check with you.
We'll go West
Feliciana.
Yeah, okay, let's talk about that.
And each morning, the knocking on doors and the attempt to overcome fear, ignorance, and years of intimidation would begin again.
All right, my name is Betty Poole. Betty Poole.
Colin, pleased to meet you.
How do you do?
Nice, thank you.
Well,
Gerald Turner.
Pleased to meet you. Collins, pleased to meet you.
We're working in your area this summer on voter registration, and we're representing CORE, the Congress on Racial Equality, and we're trying to get as many Negroes as possible to get registered to vote. Are you a registered voter, sir?
Well, I have been a registered voter.
We're having classes over at the church if you attend, right across the road over there. Tomorrow. Could you come down?
At this church here?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's my church.
And we'll go over the forms with you. If you don't have transportation out there, we can come and pick you up.
I can't say, because I don't know how I'll be feeling.
I'm working on voter registration in your town, and I'll be here most of the summer, and we're trying to get as many people as we can to get registered to vote. Are you registered voters?
You mean registered to vote?
Yes. Are you registered now to vote?
Oh, no, I'm not registered now to vote.
But you have been a registered voter? Well, what happened?
I just said, when we were voting, I heard they said that they wasn't legal no way. I mean, if they wasn't counted, it wasn't necessary to be voted.
Hello, how do you do? My name is Betty Ann Poole, and I'm working on voter registration in your town. And I'm representing Congress on Racial Equality CORE. But are you registered to vote? No.
Ms. Hamilton, did you ever try to register to vote in Louisiana before? Well, we would like to help you to register to vote. You know what we do? We set up little schools in churches and in halls and sometimes in schoolhouses and sometimes in bars, wherever people are. We go there. And the questions that they ask you down in the courthouse, we have the same questions that they will ask you. And we help you to learn the answers to those questions. See?
Our Constitution has been changed, A, by the President, B, by the Congress and the people, C, by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court. No, don't you
In the
have
clinics, instruction would go on all day and into the night. And at night, there were many rallies, like this one in Clinton.
We've had a clinic in the Sticks, in Mount Gideon Baptist Church, and a clinic in Felixville in the Beech Grove Baptist Church. And we are deeply indebted to the pastors of these three churches for letting us use their churches, for opening their doors to us, so that the people could come in and learn how to register and vote. Because only until they're registered voters, only until everyone in the 6th Congressional District in the state is a registered voter, can we in any way start on the road to freedom. And I hope you'll all help us. Thank you.
Rudy Lombard, a national vice chairman of CORE, led the Clinton rally.
Do whatever we can for people with this kind of determination, this kind of courage. We have to stick together. We have no other choice. In order for me to protect the Negro woman, I have to pay a certain kind of dues. I don't want any woman I know, any Negro woman or any white woman to be humiliated in the way my mother was. I don't have a sister, but I know some people. I know Mr. Thompson doesn't like to be called boy. I don't like it when I walk downtown into a store. And I'm much younger than he is. And I don't intend to be called boy 40 years from now. I'd rather be dead first. And you ought to go back and tell Mr. Charlie a couple of things. You ought to go back and tell him that we're not going to be turned around. That somebody's going to be here in all those jailhouses, and all those automobiles with all those big stars on them, and all those pistols ain't going to turn us around.
You asked the question, what Negroes want in voter registration. If you just take a good look at this Mississippi River, and then think, and then count. And you come up with a large number of Negroes who've been found floating down this river from one century to another. And you begin to wonder what we really want. Well, it's one word: protection. At one time they lynched Negroes and they threw them in the Mississippi River. Now they arrest them, beat them with clubs, and then find them guilty in the courtroom. Time hasn't changed very much. It's just changed from one form into another. We need anti-lynching laws. We need laws that will guarantee criminal justice in the courtrooms of the South. And we need laws that will guarantee fair law enforcement. In short, we need protection. And exactly what Negroes want today is in this line of protection. In voter registration, we think that we might be able to somehow change the entire picture, and by which Negroes walk into a courtroom, they receive justice. And at no time will we find our people floating down the Mississippi River.
On a hot Sunday afternoon early in August, about 25 task force workers enjoying their first free afternoon decided to go to New Orleans. They left from Plaquemine on the ferry, but they never reached the other side. When the interracial group refused to segregate itself, the ferry captain called the sheriff, turned around in midstream, returned to Plaquemine, and the group was arrested and lodged in the Iberville Parish jail. With half the task force in jail, voter registration activities were, to say the least, threatened. The response was the initiation of direct, nonviolent mass action.
I like the way you stopped out there, Gut. You know what? You are trained. You are a trained people. When I say stop, you stop. And I ain't even white. If you stop when I tell you to stop, the Sheriff Clinton come here and tell you to stop, you might run home. I'm a preacher. I'm a Baptist preacher. I don't sound like it, but I am. And we get up and we preach not only the Baptists, the whites, the everybody's. We preach the equality of men. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Tell me, are you loving me when you put a dog on me? No! Are you loving me when you turn tear gas on me? No! But still, this is what we preach. But we're through. We're through. I'm not saying we're going to fight fire with fire. We're not going to bite you if your dog bite us. But we are going to come in so many numbers that you aren't going to have enough dogs to bite us all. But this is what we're saying. This is what everyone in here is saying tonight. This is what the Negro throughout the entire state of Louisiana is saying. This is what the Negro in Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, and elsewhere throughout the United States is saying. One thing have I desired of you, and this will I seek after. My only desire is freedom. At any cost. I'm willing to die for it, but my only desire is freedom. What do we want? Freedom. Do you want it tomorrow? Do you want it a week from now? Do you want it a month from now? When do you want it? What do you want? Freedom. Freedom. I'm not gonna let nobody tell me. They're gonna tell me.
The marchers were met by the sheriff of Iberville Parish, Bobby Griffin.
But at 9 o'clock at night, Reverend, now you know that 9 o'clock at night is the wrong time. Now you can come there during the daytime.
In the next few months, you will have political meetings on the steps over here and all around here at 9 and 10 o'clock at night.
And when they have those political meetings, they get permission from the custodian of the courthouse whether they can have it. They notify them in advance, and they let them know whether they can have it or not. But no one notified us until just a few minutes ago about this.
You allow us to go up and sing one song, have one prayer, and leave within 5 minutes if we assure you that we will be peaceful and orderly?
The people would like to know we have a lot of people. I understand.
Just one song.
And pray a prayer.
Okay, go ahead.
The sheriff turned the request over to the police chief of Plaquemine, Dennis Sanji, who gave permission for one song and a prayer on the sidewalk in front of the courthouse.
Nothing can stop us now. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday.
Late afternoon and the day following the march, the task force workers were released.
The sheriff, district attorney, and others decided that the complaints were not valid, that they were in their constitutional rights, and it was dropped. There will be no prosecutions whatsoever. An interesting factor is the mass march that the community was behind the drive here for civil rights, and that the people were willing to go to jail rather than not to have people illegally incarcerated. But this is the results when community leaders and parish officials can come together and discuss the problems. And we sat at the conference table this morning and we came up to a conclusion as that which was right. And we're thankful to the parish officials for this just conclusion. We understand that this is the first time, I imagine, in the state of Louisiana where parish officials sat at the conference table with Negro leaders and came out to the conclusion that we have a right to ride on the ferry in a desegregated manner. I don't know. I got to get to the office on that. This guy, I think 2 people in West Feliciana attempted to register today, and one was incarcerated. And we haven't found the whereabouts of Reverend Carter right now. And this thing got me set up. I called the Justice Department, and the Justice Department said they will intervene. And I told them if they don't find Carter by 5 o'clock this evening, I'm telling you, all workers in the West Feliciana. And so they got a guy from the Justice Department down there now looking for the man. And our attorneys are over there looking for him, and Rudy and Gordon are over there. So I have to get back to the office and find out what has happened to those fellas now. Right now, that's it. Do you see what 300 marching Negroes can do? Less than 300 marching Negroes can disturb the parish so much until parish officials will be willing to concede. The time is now, my friends, when you can look back and you can see very vividly that in this time we are no longer asking for freedom. We're no longer requesting freedom. But now we say we want freedom now. If you can't give it to me now, give it to me by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Oh, yes, sir. We will go to jail. We will go to jail. We will go to jail. To jail. Oh,
high point of the voter registration campaign, the National Executive Secretary of Corps, James Farmer, had been scheduled to address a mass rally in Plaquemine. However, the recent events produced a somewhat different outcome.
Your spirit is greater than the spirit I've seen in Mississippi or Alabama. So we're marching all over the country, you see. We have many weapons. One great weapon is our own bodies as we march and we picket and we sit in all over the country. You have power. You have found that power. 25 of your people were in jail and you marched downtown to the jailhouse. And you know what happened? The next day they were turned loose. You have a great fight going on here in this parish and in this city. I understand that there is one little section that should be a part of this city that is not in it. DuPont Annex and... Now, you know very well why it is that they have not included DuPont Annex and Seymourville into the city of Plaquemine. You know why. Vote, vote, vote. They are afraid of your votes. But you have every right to be a part of that city. You know, they've tried it in Tuskegee, Alabama. They tried to gerrymander the Negroes outside of the city. They had been in, but once the Negroes registered and voted, then they redistricted the lines and moved the Negroes outside of the city. Well, they're doing the same thing here, you see, because of your vote. They are refusing to take you in to the city. Now, you can stop it, you know. The same way Tuskegee Institute did. You know how they did it? They said, very well, if you don't let us in the city, don't let us vote in the city, we will stop spending our money in that city. I think you can break it. Make your demands for inclusion and incorporation into the city for both DuPont Annex and Seymourville. If they refuse, then make it plain that you are not going to spend one more green Yankee dollar. My friends, my Christian friends, nobody ever respects you unless you respect yourself.
This time, the marchers headed for the Plaquemine City Hall.
they got? They got Jim, they got Ronnie, and I think Dr. Tyson, Reverend Davis. Yeah, Gordon is going to conduct the program down here now.
Okay. Do we need medical attention?
Yes.
Someone out there was calling a doctor in Baton Rouge, and I'm sorry, God.
They're going to have fire hoses, they're going to have tear gas, they can get more tear gas, etc. And they can probably keep, propelling us as long as we can keep going. But let me just explain what I have in mind. First of all would be to have a delegation of local community leaders and some others go down and talk with the city officials. Simultaneously, while that's going on, I would suggest that we get someone to map out all the segregated restaurants and things of that sort in this town. Try to simultaneously send, say, 6 people to a place. If we can't get inside and sit in, then sit down on the sidewalk out in front of the place.
Tuesday, August 20th. The sit-ins began around noon, and the arrests followed immediately. The demonstrators, mostly young people of the town, were brought to City Hall for booking. The mayor of Plaquemine, Charles Schneblin, broadcast an appeal to the town.
We do not like the type of publicity that the town of Plaquemine received from such incidents. However, when these things occur, there's nothing else that we can do except to accept them and handle them the best that we know how. Over the past years, if anyone had told me that Plaquemine would have had such a demonstration and disturbance as occurred here Monday night, I would have almost be willing to bet anything that such a thing would never have happened in Plaquemine, because the relationship in the town of Plaquemine between the races has been a very pleasant one. It was only until these outside agitators, in connection with two or three rebel-rousing leaders in the town of Plaquemine, that this relationship has been disturbed. Now, we expect to work in the best interest of all of our people in the town of Plaquemine. Thank you for listening to me.
With the jails already filled, the demonstrators were taken by bus to the Iberville Parish Fairgrounds, where they were locked up in a brick-walled, tin-roofed compound. James Farmer, Ronnie Moore, and other leaders of the Monday night march on City Hall were jailed in the small town of Donaldsonville.
I was spokesman for a committee of local...
Dr. Bertrand Tyson, a Plaquemine physician, and the only one of the leaders to be bonded out, reported on a meeting with Mayor Schneblin.
Purpose of trying to negotiate with the mayor and try and work out some of our problems across the table. We met with the mayor and we were flatly rebuffed on every count. We asked the mayor for establishment of a biracial committee in order to try and negotiate without further demonstrations. We asked for incorporation of DuPont Annex and Seamoville, 2 local communities which we feel have been gerrymandered out of the possibility of becoming incorporated into the city of Plaquemine. We asked for jobs on the sanitation, in the sanitation department and on the police force, city police force. These were all denied, and I frankly told the mayor I thought we were getting the runaround.
Gary Hebert, editor of The Post, one of the 2 Plaquemine newspapers, expressed his concern.
I think that as time goes, and conceivably if the push as such were extended over the period of the next 3 weeks, I think a tremendous amount of animosity could develop here. And I think that we could have one hell of a situation.
I think eventually the local government will have to yield to our demands.
I think the key to the whole thing is demand. Conceivably, it would be better to call it a request. I think that the public officials as such don't appreciate the fact that the things that are asked for are not asked for, they are demanded, or else such and such will happen.
In a seriously divided community, and with rumors of a federal injunction against CORE, another march was organized. At City Hall, Chief Sanji prepared.
That's right. I will send some reinforcements. There'll be no singing tonight. I'm telling you to go back now. Go back now before I make one arrest.
Chief, you just told him about the injunction. You just told him about the injunction.
I just told him it was time.
Yeah.
I'm not serving it on him.
Yeah.
All I'm asking them is to go back.
Yeah, I see.
And disband.
Where are you going, Governor?
We're marching, that's what. We're going to march.
We'll march.
Before the evening was over, the arrests since the beginning of the week numbered more than 300. And on the following morning, the federal injunction was served.
Looking for Dr. Bertrand Dyson, W.W. Harlix, the office of the Congress of Racial Equality. Thank you.
Well, the U.S. Marshals can't take care of themselves. Well, they have to have
We have 5 attorneys who are working on the matter. We haven't had a chance to analyze it. The injunction is so broad that it's very difficult to tell what conduct on the part of either the organization or any individual would violate the injunction. We're going to contest it on the face of it. Outline the scope and take one thing at a time.
The injunction was a little bit long in coming. We had 3 days of activity which has, I feel, set the Negro cause back for 3 years or even better. And I think the fact that they were able to secure the injunction was a good thing for this community, because if it serves to stop this type of activity in the city at this time, now, before things get too bad and too much animosity develops, then I think it has served a tremendous purpose.
It's good to see you out tonight. We called a meeting today for 1 o'clock. About 12 people showed up. News photographer looked at me, said the movement in Plaquemine is dead. Negroes in Plaquemine have given up. Everybody raised their hand last night when I asked, would you be here at 1 o'clock today? 12 people showed up. Is the movement in Plaquemine dead? No! Some pretty weak voices. Is the struggle in Plaquemine dead? No! Amen. We spoke about the last 2 nights as being the most crucial nights in the history of this community. Tonight is even more crucial because less people have shown up tonight than in the past 2 nights. And every night gets to be that much more important to us. At no time can we let anyone who opposes us think that we've tossed in the towel. We're going to fight until we can't fight no more, and then we're going to fight anyhow. Now, you're in for a big surprise tonight. We will engage in, ladies and gentlemen, starting tonight and tomorrow until the walls come tumbling down, some more nonviolent trickery. At this point, we're not going to allow anybody to walk out of the church until I finish. There will be a march tonight. Now, all you lovers of freedom, if you want to be free, stick with me. I'm going tonight. It's not very likely that you're going to hear my voice too frequently after tonight. But we don't like the condition at the fairground, and we intend to exercise our right to protest. going to give you instruction. We will be driven out to an area in Seymourville. Wait a minute. From which we will march to the fairground.
And that evening, non-violent trickery succeeded, as only one state police car met the marchers, who sang 2 songs and then returned peacefully. But there were marches of a different sort going on in other parishes, marches to the registrar's office.
Then you should go up to that registrar's office, you'll head up high. And you should tell him, all we want is our freedom. We're not here for no violence, anything else.
This march took place while a telephone call to the Justice Department was going on.
We have a number of people to go up to the registrar's office today, something in the neighborhood of 32 people. I beg your pardon? Yes, the office is open until noon. Now, we have to have some assurance that we can escort these people up there. We have somebody going up this morning. We have no idea whether the sheriff will arrest them, order them out of the registrar's office, or exactly what.
Turner, John Turner.
What are you doing?
What am I doing?
Who are you with?
I'm with the television station.
Any fun?
Television station. Here, I can give you my credentials.
You have no business in the building. You'll have to get out.
All right. All right.
And at the summer's end, voter registration and nonviolent direct action had become like the 2 sides of a single coin. James Farmer and many of the other leaders were still in jail when the final registration reports were given.
110 people were denied registration. 27 became registered. Now in West Feliciana Parish, 2 people applied for registration. Both were denied and 1 person was jailed.
Out of 220, we got 17 registered.
95 passed, 45 failed.
The bare statistics were a strange understatement of the hard realities of the summer's work.
48 passed and 49 failed.
45 out of 195.
Although the task force officially ended on August 25th, a postscript to this diary should be recorded.
Final. Freedom now. All right, right now.
1, a Plaquemine contingent left for the August 28th march on Washington. And 2, less than a month after that great event, this man was beaten in West Feliciana Parish for having tried to register to vote. And this man, Reverend Joseph Carter, who was arrested on his first attempt, successfully registered on October 17th. The 0 mark in West Feliciana was broken. It required the protection of the FBI and the Justice Department. And behind this scene, there was another, which recalled what Ronnie Moore had said earlier by the Mississippi.
Just the other day, a Negro minister was arrested. And moments after he was arrested, his family picked up guns to protect their own homes because they definitely could not secure protection from the law officials. So we have depended upon God so long, and we will continue to depend upon God. But the only problem now is to whether or not we'll be able to wait on God. And this is the problem that we have in the Deep South. We're dependent upon the federal government. How long can we wait on the federal government? And definitely suppression will not breathe love continuously.
Good news, freedom's coming.
time has come to decide, people. It's not a foreign thing, it's right here, and it's not in New Orleans this time, it's right home, Linton, Louisiana. It's gonna be a hard road. We shall overcome.
This is NET, National Educational Television.